Sonic, the heart of your system.
Okay, so the fluid temperature is really close to the boiling point now. I mean, we have like 58, 59 degrees Celsius in here, and it's just too warm now, basically. So if we take a look at Cinebench, we can see the Cinebench clocks only at 2.5, 2.6 gigahertz now, and in core temp, the temperature across all cores is immediately 80 or 90 degrees Celsius. So we are very close or immediately in the temperature target, which makes perfect sense. It's the same like running the laptop at 50 degrees Celsius air temperature, so it's way too warm. It still works though, no problems so far. What's very interesting though is you have to keep in mind, so now the Novak in here, it evaporates. Novak gas is heavier than air, so it's kind of trapped inside the box. Eventually will go over the box and over the floor and will just leave my room. But if I put a heat spreader inside the box, you can see that the Novak immediately starts to condensate on the heat spreader, also starts condensating on my hand, which feels really funny. It's really hot though, it's really hot, but it works. I can even put my phone in there, it even condensates on my phone, no problem. Doesn't damage the phone obviously because it's not electrically conductive. But performance obviously is bad because it's too warm now, so Cinebench performance 700 points. We're a lot lower than stock. So what we will do now is we will put some dry ice inside the Novak, cool it down, let's say minus 30, minus 40 degrees Celsius. Let's see how low we can go and what happens to the clocks. So I put dry ice in here. The dry ice is already gone, and we have a fluid temperature now from minus 30, roughly minus 30 degrees Celsius. I think this is, in my extreme overclocking career, probably one of the most craziest things I've ever done. Certainly in the top 3, I think. It's really amazing that it's still working, apart from the fact that the capture card doesn't work anymore. So the capture card doesn't get a display signal, which is a very common thing in extreme overclocking. We have that several times. That's one of the reasons why even nowadays we often use old VGAs with VGA as a signal and not like DVI or DisplayPort or HDMI. And I think I will just set the camera on the table and I will just record the screen and then we can move on. So if we take a look at the temperatures, we can see 0, 0, 0, 0 everywhere. So it's really nice and cold. Fluid temperature now is about minus 38 degrees Celsius. CPU constantly clocks at 4 gigahertz across the first two cores and 39 across the other cores. So let's just perform a Cinebench run and see what kind of performance we can get out of this. So 1100 points was the max we could get before doing the extreme overclocking with Novak. Temperatures are higher than I expected. So we have like 40 degree, 50, 60 degrees Celsius. I mean, it's 50 watt power consumption now, so power consumption also increased. But clock is really stable, so it's 39 across all cores constantly, which means we're running maximum clock even if we optimize now, even if we increase whatever power consumption, power targets, voltages, we will not be able to get higher performance. Yeah, so roughly 1200 points. Not even mad. That's very impressive, and I'm really impressed that this still runs at minus 40 degrees Celsius roughly. So I guess the next step is GPU overclocking. Let's see what we can do with this, because I think the GPUs should scale a lot with temperature, but I'm not sure how cold this will be because the CPU was also not that cold. Okay, so we have a GPU temperature of 10 degrees Celsius. Now it's roughly boosting to 1800 megahertz. I reset the GPU clocks earlier because the previous run I just tried, the first one, it crashed. So I reset the clocks because I was not sure if it's maybe boosting too high now and therefore it's unstable. So let's just pass this run first and see what kind of performance we can get out of this. Unfortunately, it doesn't work anymore, so I went down to up to minus 50 degrees Celsius. First I had some crashes in Windows at like minus 30, and I was not sure if it was just a GPU, if it was a GPU clock that would boost too high or if it was something else. And then I tried to save a screenshot on Superposition Benchmark, and then it told me that it cannot find the folder anymore. And then I figured out, oh, the SSD is gone. That's the reason why I didn't find the folder anymore. It was just a picture folder of Windows, which was not detected anymore. Then I tried to reboot. I ended up in the BIOS where I still am now. So it's minus 15 degrees Celsius fluid temperature. I can touch it. It's really cold, but I can touch it without hurting myself. So you can see it's still working, but SSD is not detected anymore. So I'm not sure if the SSD is damaged or if just the files are gone or whatever, but I will not continue from this point because I probably have to heat it up, probably to 0 degrees or to plus 10 degrees Celsius. And if I do that, I have the problem that I will have condensation, for example, on the screen or on the upper parts of the laptop, which I don't want to risk, because going in the area of condensation is always the area where something goes wrong. That's what I learned over the years. So it's always wise to stop at a point when things are still alive and you just dry everything and maybe try again. But what we learned from this is that the CPU worked really nicely, even at the very cold temperatures. The GPU worked kind of fine. It boosted a lot higher. That's why it crashed initially, but then it worked like 1850, almost 1900 megahertz on the GPU. Then I couldn't clock higher anymore because the SSD was gone, because the SSD crashed. So that's the status. It was still very interesting. I think it's the first time somebody tried something like this. Not sure if we can kind of transfer this experiment into something else. So maybe I will try a normal system, a mainboard, or just a GPU, submerge it and then cool it with Novak to sub-zero temperatures, or maybe have a cooling loop filled with Novak and then go to minus 50 or whatever. A lot of things I can try, a lot of things I still have on my mind. Let me know what you think about this experiment down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed it. See you soon.